You are looking at a live view of the Falcon Heavy. Yes, the Falcon Heavy on historic pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, awaiting liftoff at 3:45 p.m. local time. Welcome to our live launch webcast. My name is Lauren Lyons. I'm an engineer in our flight reliability department here at SpaceX, and I am so excited to be here with you today, along with my co-hosts, bringing you coverage of the first ever test flight of Falcon Heavy. At liftoff, Falcon Heavy is going to be the world's most powerful operational rocket by a factor of 2. And today is the day that we attempt to demonstrate that power. And because it is a test flight, there is no satellite customer on board the vehicle today, but the fairing is not empty. We do have some very interesting payloads going up on this flight that we'll talk about later on in the webcast. We'll also walk you through the mission profile because this ain't your typical Falcon launch. We've got 28 engines, 3 boosters, 3 separation events, 3 landing attempts, and there's going to be a lot of activity happening all at once. So this test flight is bound to be exciting one way or another. All right, we've got a ton to walk you through today, so let's get going.
Hi, I'm Michael Hammersley, a materials engineer in the avionics department. We're very excited. I'm sure you can hear it. To my right, we have a live view of Falcon Heavy on the pad at Kennedy Space Center. Falcon Heavy is essentially 3 Falcon 9 rockets all strapped together, which means it can carry much larger payloads not only to Earth orbit, but to the Moon and Mars as well. So like Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy is a 2-stage launch vehicle. The big difference is that the first stage in Falcon Heavy is comprised of 3 cores, while Falcon 9 has only 1. Now, each one of these 3 cores has 9 M1D engines, making for a total of 27 engines overall. Altogether, those engines produce 5 million pounds of thrust, which is equal to 18 747s at takeoff. In fact, the engines are producing so much power that we don't run them at full thrust all at once. So during ascent, Falcon Heavy will throttle its thrust up and down in both the side and the center cores in order to balance the aerodynamic and structural loads on the vehicle. So about halfway through the first stage's burn, the 2 side boosters will separate and come back to Earth for a simultaneous landing at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. More about that a bit later. Wait. At that point, the mission proceeds very much like a standard Falcon 9 flight. The center core will keep on firing for another minute to burn all of its fuel, and it will perform a standard stage separation from the second stage on top. This second stage, with the fairing right at the very top there, the second stage is exactly the same as any other Falcon 9 flight, except we've loaded a bit more helium onto it this time. Now, that second stage will be sending our payload way out into a Mars-crossing orbit, which we'll also get into a bit later. But all in all, with a successful launch, Falcon Heavy is going to be the largest and most powerful operational rocket in the world. We're very excited to be launching it today. Let's check in on exactly how it's doing.
Good afternoon. I'm John Innsbrucker, the Falcon Principal Integration Engineer at SpaceX. We're currently at T-minus 17 minutes, 40 seconds and counting down. The good news that all systems are go for launch. We're working no problems with the SpaceX test flight of the Falcon Heavy launch vehicle. Now we're currently loading propellant on all 3 first stage boosters, and we began loading a couple minutes ago on the second stage LOX tank. Now this is the same method that we use on the single-core Falcon 9. It just scaled to handle 3 first-stage boosters. Now we're loading liquid oxygen and kerosene. We do that because in order to support combustion, you need oxygen. And in the vacuum of outer space, there isn't any. So we bring our own liquid oxygen, chilled and densified. You may have heard densified in the past. That allows us to pack the maximum amount